My name is Katie Ogle. I'm 39 years old, have 4 kids, and I had them all close together, and our house is loud and wild. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I was a cheerleader. I thought people who did karate were the weird ones. Fast forward, I met my husband at a college. We got married, moved to Knoxville, and then he had been doing jiu-jitsu ever since he was in college. And so our married life, for about 10 years, I would, 2 or 3 nights a week, he would go off and do jiu-jitsu, and I would say goodbye. Sometimes I would go watch him, but never at the places because of our moving, he'd been to about 5 places. There were never girls. I thought I was being the supportive wife when I would go watch David. Sometimes I would watch UFC with him, so I obviously had a grasp that it was like combat-ish. Had a little girl, had a little boy like 18 months later. Then we had a 3rd kid who ended up becoming hard of hearing, and because of that, we moved around to Tennessee School for the Deaf because that's where he was going. Then we had another kid. While we were living in our house, we saw one of our neighbors across the street moved. They sold their house. When the next person moved in, we were like, oh, it's a tall Asian guy, let's go meet him. And so we went to meet him, and turns out while David had been doing jiu-jitsu, this guy was, I think, a purple belt in jiu-jitsu at the time, and he had just gone pro. And it was Jason King. And so we were excited that there was that connection. So we got to know him a little bit. He invited my husband to KMAA when they were at the church. And so David got to see how KMA acted, and he liked it, but he was faithfully going to a gym in a different area of Knoxville. We found out that where Jason King goes to the gym, that gym was having a deaf class, and where they did sign language. The instructor was going to do sign language. So we were really excited about that. I think he was Lionel. My son was probably about 4 at the time. And so we all go down to KMAA and go into the deaf class. It was great. Taylor Turner was there. Another guy was there they were all signing. To have a place, not only that my husband loved to do that sport, but also a place that my kid could have access to what everybody else is getting access to when he normally doesn't. Because also he can't, not only doesn't hear well, he can't, especially at this time, he could not express himself well. And so he was able to assign to them and communicate what he was saying. And so now he's able to say things, but at that time it was really hard to understand him. And so these people could understand him. So as a mom, for your kid to be able to go into a sport and for your son to be able to communicate back and forth with the coaches, and then to understand him and him to understand them, that was a big deal. And it just shows the culture of KMAA and what we came into right away, that we knew that the culture that KMAA had was so rich and good. And because of that, my husband actually transferred his membership over. And so at this point, I had 4 kids. I had a little baby on my hip, but my 3 were involved. My husband got involved. And then one day, there are a ton of women at KMAA here, and so I decided to, it just looked really fun, so I stepped on the mats. The first time I stepped on the mats, I was the only girl, while there were a bunch of girls that come to classes. The class I came to, I was the only girl. I still remember who were there in that class. I remember it being awkward because, for 10 years, my husband, or 12 years, whatever it was, my husband was the only guy that I had touched physically. And before that, I had some trauma in my childhood that I didn't know that I had buried. And coming onto the mats, at KMAA, they say the mats don't lie. And that was where I got a good dose of, you have trauma you haven't dealt with. I think I didn't know at that point that I was uncovering things, but it was the beginning of my path of uncovering things because I got on the mat. It was very, very hard for me to do moves with people. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of the class because of, what KMA is. You can't not enjoy the classes. So I kept coming back for more. But it was jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is very person-to-person based. And so as the year went on, I got closer and closer to the friends here. I don't think I would have stepped on the mats that first time had there not been so many women at KMAA. The life that is at KMAA and the life that the women bring made me want to do it. And while there were no women there, I knew it was a safe place. I knew that these women all came and they were strong women. And so maybe there was something underneath reaching out, trying to, become better. I didn't know all that was going on, but thankfully I kept coming back. And as each, session went on and each friend kept getting deeper and deeper, things kept getting uncovered. KMA has jiu-jitsu, which is what I got started in, MMA, and then kickboxing. I don't know which one I love better. I think I love jiu-jitsu better. That's what I started with. But no, I don't know what I love better. I don't know how to answer that because I love hitting and being hit. I think there's seasons. So sometimes I feel like, my love for jiu-jitsu or the way I can do things in jiu-jitsu kind of goes down, but then my love for kickboxing or MMA, shoots up, and I'm like loving that. And then it kind of goes, back and forth. So recently I had a kickboxing match, and so I had a whole season of kickboxing, which was really fun. But then I just stepped back on the mats and did jiu-jitsu, and it was like a buffet of goodness. I had done one MMA match before, one MMA fight before. It was like a year ago, and so I've been wanting to do a fight. And finally this came along, and it was kickboxing. And so normally I do jiu-jitsu, I do MMA, so kickboxing was different, but I was excited about it. I went up to my coach and said, hey, can you help me? I asked him to help me with something, and so he gave me it's called the pendulum step. He was like, what do you like? And so I showed him when I feel comfortable in sparring, the move that I feel comfortable with, and it was this little dancing move. I love dancing, I grew up dancing, and so he's like, okay, and so he took that and gave me the pendulum step. The way that our head coach, Eric and Jason, both fit, they didn't try to fit me into this thing. They found out what I was and gave me something that would fit me. And because of that, I had so much fun learning it and so much fun in the cage. And I was able to execute some of the pendulum steps that I learned, and it was just a lot of fun. 6 years ago, I have a wonderful husband. I have 4 amazing kids, but I was one of those moms that I stayed in the house, I homeschooled, and I would cook, I would clean for my husband, I would do all those things. I didn't really argue with him at this point. I didn't really argue with anyone. I was just a quiet person who just existed. Here, the coaches genuinely believe in making people better versions of themselves. And if they see somebody who wants to become better, they will invest time, energy, money, anything to help them become better. And that's what happened to me and my husband. There were a few people here who have invested thousands of dollars. They've invested thousands of hours, brain power, conversation after conversation of just helping me understand that I can be a person. I remember saying at the beginning, I'm like this white paper that there's nothing on it. I don't know what I like. I put all my white paper onto whatever is around. I'm nothing. The way that KMA has helped me develop my personhood to become somebody that I'm happy with is something that I can never repay. I can never express the gratitude. If there is a mom out there who is sitting at home, wanting to get better, maybe feel stuck or exhausted, or like everything around her is she does everything for other people and nothing for herself. I would say that there is more, that there is hope, that you are worth it, that you were made beautiful, and that there is a way to find out who you are, that KMA is a good place to do that. It did it for me. There's so much more satisfaction on this side. It's just worth it. It's worth taking that step when you're afraid and when you're lonely and scared, to just walk through the doors of KMA, because the people here love and invest, and they see that, and they will put everything they have into saving you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.